The first person we saw was Leah, and it was a great way to start the auditions.
You might laugh because every time I sign my name, I put a gold star after it, but it's a metaphor. And metaphors are important. My gold stars are a metaphor for me being a star.
I think the linchpin of the casting process for us was the role of Rachel. And I think if we hadn't gotten that part right, we wouldn't have had a show.
Rachel was designed as somebody that feels like they could be an outcast and yet has enough presence and sparkle to be a lead. And then on top of that, she was the star of the Glee Club, so really had to sing.
So the character of Rachel is kind of all ego and is like a fantastic little fireball of a starlet who's spectacularly talented and utterly tone deaf to how she comes across to people. And that's kind of where her charm lies.
I come from a world of musical theater, so I never really thought I'd be on a television show.
I was friendly with Leah, and when we were writing the part of Rachel, I always really did have her in the back of my mind.
How are you guys?
But she had to audition like everybody else. What are you singing?
You don't want to hear my monologue?
Which one?
It's fine, Ryan.
She came into this room and sang On My Own from Les Mis.
And I think it was before her network test actually got in an accident.
I get into a massive car crash outside of the Fox lot, completely total my car. When I get into the room for my audition, I literally was still pulling pieces of glass out of my hair. They're like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "I'm fine."
You're very talented.
And I start singing my first song. I love him. And the piano player skipped through the second verse. So right in the middle of my song, I was like, "Excuse me, I need to sing the entire song."
We have to go back to the second verse.
Very Rachel Berry.
I can't keep wasting my time with Glee. It hurts too much. It wasn't supposed to be funny, that was my serious part.
You know what? She wanted that part. Not even a trip to the emergency room was going to stop that girl from getting that part.
She was as poised as anyone I've ever seen in my life. It was just another day at the office.
Very nice, Rachel.
When do we start rehearsals?